All right, so this is the summit, Fall Summit 2025. We are so happy to have you here. If you haven't registered for all our sessions, please go ahead and do that. Today at noon, we'll have Katia Talavera, who's in the room. She will be talking about core team coaching. So Katia will be sharing a practical session on applying the 8 ICF core competencies in team coaching. So that will be really interesting. She will share her personal journey on that. And this afternoon, we'll have Elena Espinal, MCC, and she will be, her title, the session title is The Hidden Dimension of Coaching, Cultivating Sensibilities. And this morning, we have with us Elias Scultori, who is a Masterclass certified coach, renowned for empowering leaders to seamlessly integrate the coach approach into the their leadership styles. Sorry. Elias has coached and trained leaders in over 40 countries on 6 continents. So welcome, Elias. You have a fabulous bio here, but I want to open up the room for you to share.
Fabulous.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here again, and for inviting me to be in conversation with these fabulous coaches. So thank you, everyone. If you've been in any one of my workshops before, you know that we are going to have a conversation. This is not me lecturing or telling you things or teaching or anything. We are going to have a conversation. So jump in anytime, interrupt me, raise your hand, tell me what is happening, what are your thoughts, what's happening as we explore this topic, which is an interesting topic, this idea of the perfect coaching session. So what is this? Let me start with this question. What is the perfect coaching session? When you read this title for this workshop, what came up for you?
Can I go, Elias?
100%, Katia.
I think there's no perfect session. And it's just where you are in your journey and just growing and whatever, even if you don't have ACCs or where are you in your journey, it's...
Yeah, so interesting, like let's see how we can define during our hour here what it means to be perfect. Right, and I totally, I'm with you there, Katia. Let's see what we're going to come up with. Rosario.
When I read the title of your seminar lecture, I started laughing because I thought, oh my God, this is like the perfect lecture. Because like Katia said, I don't think there's a perfect session. I think that we do the best we can for our coachees. And the perfect session will be when you see that they move forward. For me, that's like the most rewarding feeling. Because some people will move forward with certain things. Some people will move forward with other, coaching style. I don't know. So that's my...
I love that, Rosario. Keep that thought there, because we will be exploring that in depth, actually. So thank you for that. Alexandra, I hope I'm speaking your name correctly.
Yes, thank you. So a perfect coaching session for me, at least, is when the client has a shift and we both leave the session elevated, because coaching is not only for the coachee, but also for the coach, that you exit the session thinking that was amazing, there was progress, and it doesn't feel like work, but rather you're elevated and you're happy.
Wonderful thought there, Alexander. Let's keep that in mind as we have in our conversation here. I like what you're saying. Pamela, Shakti, and then we'll move on here.
Yeah, for me, when I saw the title of this, Perfect, I thought how funny, how cute, because we all try to be perfect. We all try to do our best. And I think it really speaks to that part of us that wants to do, we have these high standards. So I think it's funny because I think, yeah, as coaches, we know the word perfect kind of triggers something in all of us. So I think it's twofold. Like we all have our perfect session of how we define it for ourselves. But I also think it triggers that part of us, that sort of that inner critic that wants to keep us even better. So that's what came up for me.
And this is a wonderful point, right, Pam? Because we are all striving to be the best professional that we can be. We want to deliver a great product, a great experience to our clients. So we want to do as well as we can possibly do. So this is wonderful. Yeah. Shakti.
Thank you. I think what Pamela just said really resonated for me. For me, the perfection is something that is constantly changing, and I don't really like to assign too much in my perspective or in my clients in terms of happiness, having to have like a certain feeling or thing that you walk away with, other than to know that you received something in that session and you can define it at the end of the session, whatever that might be. And to kind of just, I guess perfection in this case to me would be imperfection in a way, because it would also create space for learning for both the coach and the client, so that if something didn't go perfectly, we can learn from that and grow. So I feel like building that in has been meaningful for me, to stop thinking about things as perfection all the time.
Thank you for bringing this, because now you are even going to the definition of what is perfect, even beyond coaching, right? We as human beings, we want to do things well. And then there is this expectation that this needs to be in the right place at the right time, and everything needs to be perfect. And that can influence the moment that we are with our clients as well. And that level of putting everything right or doing everything right can actually get in the way of us creating this moment that is of value to our clients. So let's keep that in mind as we go through this conversation here today. I chose this title because I am a coach educator. I have been a coach educator for, almost more than 15 years now. I have been an assessor for the ICF for over a decade. I am a mentor, I'm a supervisor. I've been training coaches and working with coaches for most of my coaching career. I was very fortunate that right after I finished my coach training program and I got my ACC and my PCC, I was invited to also become faculty of the coach training that I was working with, and I was able to be in very close contact with all of this development that has been happening with the ICF for over a decade of setting the standards for our profession. And this is wonderful to see and to witness. But what I am noticing as we go along this standardization for what we do as coaches, that there is an increased concern about what is to deliver this technically perfect session. Did I check that marker? Did I follow that bar? Am I supposed to ask that question, or that question was not exactly right? You should see, if you've never been to, but you should see when we go into assessors meetings with the ICF. So the ICF puts together assessors from all over the world that are assessing for the portfolio path at the ICF, or that they are assessors at coach training programs. And then we are talking about specific competencies or specific markers, and all of a sudden, oh, but here is in the markers, we have this comma, and because of this comma, then it's not this, it's that. And then there is this word over here, it's an invitation. No, it's not it's so like nitpicking. And then it gets to this place of this idea of like, what is the right thing to do? And in with this focus of delivering this technically perfect session, what is the impact of this in the moment, in the reality of when we are with our clients? And I noticed that because there is the pendulum has gone so far into the technically perfect session, that either I see two trends happening in the coaching industry. Either there are coaches that are extremely attached to the technique, to what are the competencies, and this word changed in the competency, and therefore everything changed, and the PCC marker that I didn't check the PCC marker. So either we have coaches that are very attached to doing everything right, or we have coaches that simply have given up and literally have put the core competencies and the IC and the PCC markers and bars to the side. And I'm not going to be able to follow that. So let me just have a conversation with my client. So we went. There is I'm noticing that there is a tendency to go to these extremes, to the two sides. Is there a better approach? Like coaching, we know that coaching is not black and white. Coaching is all about the gray areas. Can we find a place of balance within our practices and how we are doing with our clients? Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. I have a couple of slides here, so let me share this with you. The perfect coaching session. And let me make this a little smaller so I can see a little better here. So everybody can see my slides a little bit. I'm not a fan of slides, but I have a few slides here for us today, okay? So here we have the perfect coaching session. As I asked you, what does doing right look like in a coaching session? And I think that you offered a few thoughts there. So let's think here, the pressure to be perfect. What is happening there with this pressure? I feel that right now, first of all, it starts with coaching education, because there is a huge trend in coaching education nowadays that we teach to pass the test. We teach so that people can mark the markers and create that perfect recording, that perfect session and that perfect recording, or close to perfect recording, so that we pass the test and we get the stamp, and then we are ACC, we are PCC, we are MCC, yay, now we are great coaches. Right? Just because we passed the test and we got the stamp, does that mean that we are great coaches? Not sure about that. But coaching education, especially after the ICF released the first version of the PCC markers over a decade ago, and I really believe that the PCC markers was a marker in the history of professionally, the evolution of the professional coaching industry. But we got so enamored by the markers that all of a sudden markers became our North Star in following the markers. And coaching education now, a lot of coaching education is based simply on what are the checks that we have to check when we go for the certification. And I highly encourage you to pay attention to it. If you are being educated just by checking boxes, there is a lot more in coaching education than checking boxes. A lot more coaching education than simply following markers. And I hope that your goal as a professional coach is not simply to attain a certain level of certification or to pass that particular exam, but I hope that your goal as coach is to be the best coach that you can be. The ICF just this week, I believe, released the minimal requirements for ACC, PCC, and MCC, a list of minimal requirements, a new version of that. And it's important for us to remember that this is the minimum requirements. I don't want to be the professional that follows minimum requirements. I want to excel much beyond that, right? So those are guidelines, wonderful documents for us to understand, but just being educated based on minimum requirements is, I hope that for all of us, is just the starting point and not the end goal. So coaching education has a lot of influence in us with this pressure to be perfect, because this is what we are being taught. Check the marker and you're a good coach. Not sure if I go with that statement. The other one is the certification standards. As I mentioned, there are standards and which are wonderful. We need standards for our profession, and what the ICF has done in the past decade has been tremendous and beautiful and so important. However, standards are usually minimum requirements. There is a lot more in coaching than just following standards. What is beyond the standards? What is beyond what the standards are talking about? The assessor's expectations. So what is the assessor going to be paying attention when they listen to my recording? What do I need to be mindful of? Which is all important, right? We want to get that certification, and having have knowledge of what the assessors is doing. It's important to do that. But again, this is just a step, right? Not necessarily the full aspect of coaching development. And then we have fears of mistakes. The idea that, okay, if I make a mistake, a lightning bolt is going to come and strike me and I'm going to be doomed for kingdom come, right? Like, not necessarily. Mistakes happens all the time in coaching. There is, as Katja said, there is no perfect in the sense of everything is lined up. And mistakes are a part of the coaching process as well. So there is this pressure to be perfect coming from all of these influences that we have in the coaching industry. In our pursuit of doing things right, and in our pursuit to make sure that we are checking the markers, that we are getting that certification, we sometimes lose sight of our purpose. So, what is our purpose? Anyone? Francine.
Hello. This is, just directly from yesterday's conversation with Marcia, our purpose being to partner with our clients.
What does that mean, to partner with our clients?
Yeah, to kind of walk with them, team up with them, create together, be like invested within them, with their journey.
100%. Yeah, our purpose is our clients. Our goal is our clients, right? Our goals is not the markers or the competencies. We are there for them. Katerina.
Yeah, hi, Elias. Good morning. Well, I think, different purpose. One of my purpose is that help leaders to change behavioral, and not through just what he believes, but what others see that they have been changed, because I believe that change perception is harder with others than when others see the changes in him. And I love to think about when we trade ego from empathy, or when we trade, fear for curiosity, or power from purpose. Like, when I see that on the client, that really brings me a lot of energy. And I love when you say, what is the perfect, I have been working with the, check the bot, and then I was some tension with me. I am now MCC, but during this journey is sometimes some clients need something. And for me, is to bring to the client what he needs at this moment. Sometimes is ICF or competences, sometimes not. And I am open to that. Yeah, that's for me.
Excellent. So you're there for your client. What is it? What is that my client needs now? What is in the moment? How can I support my client right now? One of the things that I say, and perhaps I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, but one of the analogies that I have as far as coaching is a surgeon performing a surgery, and right next to a surgeon, not that we are performing surgery, but right next to the surgeon, there is a tray of tools next to the surgeon. And the surgeon knows how to utilize every single tool, and those tools are sharp and ready to go. However, the surgeon is there for the patient. Will the surgeon all the time, every surgery, utilize all of the tools? I don't think I know nothing about medicine, but I don't think that they do, right? Like, you use the tools that are important in that particular moment. And the wisdom and the skill is to know which tool, when, and how to utilize that tool the best way possible. That is the skill. The focus of the surgeon is not that, oh, I need to use this tool now. I'm not the surgeon is not there for the tools. The surgeon is there for the patient. The same with us as coaches. We are there for our clients. Our tools are sharpened. We know how to use all of the tools, ready to use any time that is necessary. However, my skill is not in simply utilizing the tool. My skill is in what tool is important to use in this moment at any given time. That is the skill. I love that. Someone else raised the hand and then put the hand down. Valerie, was that you? Yes.
Yes, thank you. I relate really what Katarina just said. It's really like being in the moment, and also for me, it's supporting my client growth. I mean, whatever the growth is for him, this is what is my purpose. So it's really simple.
Yes, the purpose is there to support the client's development. That's the client's growth. That is my job here. My job is to be with as many tools and possibilities as possible so that I'm able to support the client in that particular moment. But my goal is not the tools. My goal is the client. So I think that we all agree that there is no such a thing as the technically perfect, and pay attention to my language here. I'm being very specific here. The technically perfect session. And why not? So let me share here some of my thoughts here in my slide here. The myth of perfection, right? This idea that why the perfect session, the technically perfect session doesn't exist. Well, every client shows up different. Every time the same client shows up, that client is going to be different. It's going to be a different moment, a different situation, a different mood, different pieces of information. So every time a client shows up in front of me, even clients that I may have worked with that client for a long time, that moment that the client shows up is unique. And therefore, will require a unique approach in that particular moment. We show up differently. Every time we show up, every day, there is something new. There is a different way. We notice certain things. We are in a different mood. We slept well. We didn't sleep well. We drank coffee. We drank tea. Last night we had dinner and something changed. And every time we show up is going to be different. Technique does not necessarily, perfect technique does not necessarily mean that just because I have flawless technique, that I'm going to be able to provide this perfect moment of transformation and growth for my client. And I'm going to share a couple of examples later for you. But technique, we need to understand that having perfect technique does not necessarily grant immediate value to the coaching conversation. Those are two very different things. Not that we are going to dismiss technique, but technique alone does not guarantee that we are going to have a wonderful moment with our clients. And coaching, the myth of perfection is because coaching is all about human connection. And humans are messy. Humans are unpredictable. Humans are subjective. This is one thing that we need to always remember. Coaching is not and will never be an objective process. Coaching is a subjective process. And it is in that subjectivity that we need to learn how to navigate the subjectivity of coaching. We need standards, but we need to understand that we need to create standards based on the nature of coaching, which is subjective. So coaching is messy, and in that messiness, there is no one right way of doing this. It pains me to see that sometimes we have coach training programs where in order to teach a student how to establish a good session agreement, the coach training program delivers, these are the questions for you to ask. Question number 1, question number 2, question number 3, question number 4. Here, go and ask these questions. I'm sorry. There is not one single session that is going to work. Right? The markers there, the standards for I'm giving just one example here, one competency, the establishes and maintains agreement. This is not about questions to ask. If we are just simply asking questions because we learned that in coach training, I'm positive that you're finding difficulty in establishing a session agreement. A session agreement is not about specific questions to ask. The standards give us areas to cover. These are points that we as the community of coaches learn that are usually when we establish a good session agreement, we cover certain points. And these are important points for us to keep in mind. How we are going to cover these points, every coaching session is going to be different. There is no one question that is going to work every session. So the skill of the coach is not to simply ask question number 1, 2, 3, and 4. The skill of the coach is how am I going to dance in the moment, listen, be present to what is happening with the client, to what is happening with me, so that I am able to support this individual to access and be able to verbalize what they truly want for that moment. That's the goal of the session agreement. But just trying to do 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's not going to do, because we are dealing with human beings. We are human beings, and human beings are messy. So perfection is a moving target because humans are constantly evolving. What do you think so far? What's coming up for you?
100% agree. Thank you for putting language to this.
What resonated with you the most, Kim?
That technique is not equal to transformation. And human beings are evolving. And we help them evolve in the moment and in responding to picking up the right tool in the right way, or just being still.
Yes, or just being still. I love that. Yes, sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing in a coaching session. I love that. Claudia.
Yes, I think it takes all the pressure away from, like you said, hitting all the markers. Sometimes the client just wants to be heard, like everybody. People want that space, that safe space, being present, looking to their eyes and saying, everything's going to be fine. And what you just said, it's such a great relief. I think we have to know the tools. We have to be ready for, use them if we need them in that moment. But what you just said, it's a relief. It's nothing that, of course we know that, but sometimes it's in here, right? The inner critic saying, oh, you should have said that. You should have said that other thing. But thank you, Elias. It's refreshing to hear.
And it's we are called to have reflective practice. So we are called, and I believe that mastery is when we are doing the exercise of self-awareness. What is happening? What made me not ask this question at this particular moment? What made it so hard for me to approach this? There was something that the client said, and I somehow wasn't able to really bring the attention to that particular focus that the client said. Having reflective practice is crucial. That's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's how we expand. But there is a distinction between having a reflective practice and, oh my gosh, I didn't mark that marker. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad because that didn't work. And yeah, there is a big distinction there. Caterina.
Yes, first of all, I agree with what says Claudia and Kim. I hear very few ICF coaches that really are so open to that and navigating this. I believe this is the true work. I think that, as you say, work on us, understand our own wisdom, and trust the process. Yes, we are going to navigate self-efficacy, what that means, reflection and action, and you choose when to reflect, when to act. And this is the art, this is the mastery, and it is just do it. Of course, you need instruments, you need techniques, but then is navigating and trust the process, trust yourself, and work, of course, and excel yourself also too.
Yeah, yes, trust. Trust is the foundational aspect of coaching. Trust, we always say in coach training, right? Trust the client, trust the process, trust ourselves. If we fully embrace that, we just go and we have this beautiful conversation with the client. Yes, Shakti.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing a lot here is this kind of everything that we bring to our clients, it's kind of bringing it also to ourselves, meeting ourselves where we are and being open to what we're experiencing, because that's where I think, for me at least, the reflection becomes possible. When there's openness and lack of judgment and just noticing what felt right and what didn't feel right, and what was really the reason that it didn't feel right, what was underneath that. But also not doing this in the session, of course, but giving yourself the space to just be with yourself in the meeting, doing the best that you can, honoring the competencies, honoring the client, and then taking that away afterwards.
I love both of you, bringing this idea of the coach, the importance of us to have this reflective practice, the importance of us to work on ourselves. One of the things that I have a podcast called Prime Space, and one of the episodes recently was on the update version of the core competencies that the ICF just released. And I put all of the wonderful things that happen in this updated version and some points that I got concerned about. And one thing that was disappointing to me in this new version of the ICF core competency is that in competency number 2, embodies a coaching mindset, for the second time, we still haven't quite defined what coaching mindset means. This idea of the reflective practice, this idea that we need to look inside, that we need to do our work, right? That is so important. It's there, but it's not quite there. This idea that the client is resourceful, capable, and whole, right? This idea that we approach the client, there is nothing to fix when we are working with the client. But for us to have that level of approach to the other individual, we need to first have to work on ourselves and see that. Because if we are, how can we expect the client to go deeper in looking at themselves, holistically speaking, going to look underneath the waterline and see more intrinsic forces that are influencing that particular moment. How can we expect the client to do this type of work if we are not doing that ourselves? It's not going to work, right? It's going to be fake, and the client is going to see that. In consciously or unconsciously, there will be a level of noticing that this is perfunctory. And then, yes, it can have perfect technique, check all of the markers, check all of the boxes, but it's still not truly effective to the client. Thank you for those. Those are beautiful nuances here. I want to share with you, I don't know if you know this, but I am a classically trained pianist, and I was a musician for many years of my life. I still play the piano. And I would love to use this as an example, because especially in classical music, you are able to see performers, and I've been to performances at Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center, New York, where the performance is perfect, technically flawless, but there is no move. There is no, it's not effective. It's empty. And this is the danger of us pursuing flawless technique only, because we can have a flawless performance, but that flawless performance does not always move us. And it's something that happens with music. I'm pretty sure that even if you are not, into classical music, I'm pretty sure that you have seen people that play, or people that everything is done very well. Even a recipe, you do a recipe following all the steps on the recipe, and then you get the recipe out of the a cake or something, and it still doesn't taste great, right? You did everything that you needed to do. But that does not necessarily mean that it moves you in that moment. So important for us to do this. And before I pass the mic here to Jimmy, I am an assessor for the ICF, and I'm an assessor. Sometimes I'm an assessor at PCC level, at portfolio level with the ICF. And sometimes the ICF sends me these recordings, and I can see it's not that it's scripted, but I can see that the focus of that recording is primarily to check the markers. And I am listening to the recording and I'm checking the markers. And yes, and at the end, I look and I see, this person will most likely pass this. But then I take a bird's eye view of that session, and the session is empty. There is nothing there. You can see that the client is, okay, it's all right. Right? So being technically flawlessly, does not necessarily mean that we are really delivering a good product to our clients. Jimmy.
Thank you, Elias. Great work so far. I love it. And I love the interaction from the group. This last part that you were talking about here reminds me, or makes me think that checking the boxes and trying to be flawless or perfect is sort of like you're putting AI in there. And while AI may know exactly what questions to ask, and maybe even when and in what case, there's no connection. There's no real empathy. Like the robot has no idea how to be human. And so, yeah, we've got AI tools to assist us and help in certain ways. But I don't think too many people would really want to be coached by a robot, because like I said, it's going to be perfunctory. It's just going to give us answers and possibly a way forward, but it's not going to move us in any way humanly.
100%. And thank you for bringing the AI topic here, because this is a big topic nowadays in our coaching industry. Is AI going to replace us as coaches? Well, if we are there simply trying to check the box, yeah, maybe the AI is going to do that.
Sure.
We as human beings, and if we embrace the humanity of coaching, If
Yeah,
we embrace the humanity of coaches, there is the clue. Yeah.
I know. I heard something. I can't remember who it was, but it was during a presentation, and the presenter had said something about, it's been shown that that AI can pass the PCC test. I'm like, well, no kidding. It knows all the answers. Like, duh. Of course it can pass the test. Who cares?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pamela.
Yeah, just what's going on for me as we're talking about all this is that how much energy that we have as coaches when we come into a client call, and how much of that energy we are giving to the technical aspects, or, it's kind of looping through this pattern of perfectionism inside of us, and how that's keeping us blocked, as coaches, but just how much. So what is possible when we free that energy up and we say it's okay, or we can catch that? How much more are we able to give into that session? So I just wanted to share my reflection on that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. The sky is the limit. I cannot see it's the infinite. What can happen when two human beings come and connect at a human level. Oh my gosh, the possibilities there are endless. 100% that you guys are saying so many things there. My mind is rushing at 1,000 miles here. Thank you for this. I have a couple of questions that I would love for us to reflect here. And perhaps you take a second to think about them. And I would love to hear from a few of you. When you think of your coaching practice, when did technique get in the way? When did a lack of structure get in the way? Because there is the opposite. It's a pendulum, right? It's not either or. And when did I find balance? I would love to hear from a few of you. You can answer any of these questions or all of the questions. I don't know. Any thoughts as I offer these questions? Jimmy.
Well, I can tell you that I am a pretty structureless person. So I have to work at building structure in certain things. And the lack of structure can definitely hinder what I would consider my performance in a coaching session. So if I don't really nail down the agreement, then I'm just, then I'm figuring out, all right, I gotta get this going somewhere. So the lack of structure is just that's a really tough one for me.
This is beautiful, Jimmy, because then you're sharing with us here the tendencies. We all have this tendency, just like in the beginning, I mentioned that I see right now coaches either going into one direction where very attached to the techniques and the markers, or coaches completely giving up on the whole thing. Like, I can't deal with this. And we all have this tendency as well. Some of us are more structured. Some of us need more structure. Some of us lean more towards a more flowy aspect of it. And it's important for us to know that. I love what you just said, that I am a person that I don't structure is not, the thing that it goes. I don't know how you verbalize that, Jim, but you understand what I'm saying. And I need to make sure that I nail a good coaching agreement. So knowing where you are and being able to balance it and find that balance. That's an awesome exercise there, Jimmy. Thank you for that example. Katharina.
Yes, I am equal as Jimmy. For me, structure is complicated, but this has been helping the techniques and ICF competence more to be in an organic way. But I always remember this is an intentional conversation. The person has something for him, and I have to serve them. And when the balance comes, I think when I feel that it has a good session is when I really find the balance between being organic and, of course, at least you have to have what is this talk about, right? And what is I can serve my client.
And because both of you brought this idea of the structure, I have to share this with you. You know, when I am training my students in my coach training program, Prime Coaching Academy, or when I am mentoring or supervising my students, every time we talk about the structure, I always ask my students, look for the why. We are not there to mark markers simply because the ICF told us so, or simply because we learned that in coach training. It's important for us to understand why. Why is it that the community came together and said that it is important for us to support the client into establishing an outcome for the coaching conversation? If I understand the why of that, then I don't need to be concerned about checking that marker anymore. Of course I'm going to do it, because now it's incorporated in me. And I highly encourage all of you and all of my students and all of my mentees, I always encourage, get to know the why of these standards, because once you understand the why, it's not a question of performing anymore. It's not a question of finding that perfect coaching conversation. You're going to do it because it makes sense. Of course, I'm going to do it. That's the goal. I love that. Thank you. Shakti.
Thank you. I really like what you just said. And I'm happy to come after Jimmy and Katharina, because I think I am the opposite, in the sense that I tend to historically and naturally, I think, have been an extremely structured person. I come from an extremely structured career where it really served me to show up with this very strict and focused mindset on what the regulation says. And also, when I started my coach training 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, whatever it was, it was really difficult, but so freeing to actually give myself permission to let go of that expectation of structure. And I hadn't really thought about it as a balance until I think it was, I watched the session that you did with your business partner here in ICF South Florida about form and
flow.
The form and flow. Yes, form and flow. And I remember talking to Katharina about that and how powerful that was for me, because it finally put in perspective for me to find that balance, to constantly, maybe as a reflective practice for myself, find my balance after my sessions, kind of ask myself, where did I need less structure? Did I need more flow? Or where am I maybe holding myself back? And so I think it's constantly shifting, and it might also shift from client to client, because maybe with certain clients, I do need to be more structured, and with other clients, I might need to be more in flow. So I think it's really just bringing it all together and letting everything play and kind of fit in. But for that, we need trust and we need permission, and that comes from ourselves. So.
Yes, thank you, Shakti, because it's a wonderful segue for where we're going to go, because I'm going to bring here this idea of form and flow, this idea that it's not one or the other. And this is the tricky part of being a professionally trained coach committed to delivering high standards to our clients. So it's not that we form this idea of form and flow here. What is form? Form is the technique. Form is the structure. Form is the markers. Form is the standards. Flow is the humanity, is the connection. It's the presence, is the relationship that we build with the client, is the dancing in the moment. There is no such a thing as a technically perfect coaching session, but I do believe there is a perfect session. And the perfect session is the session where we are able to put both form and flow together. And I'm pretty sure that all of you have experienced this. A moment, a session that you had with your client that you felt that you were everything came together. And all of a sudden there was this moment when it flowed, it was beautiful, but there was structure. And the client left the coaching conversation with tremendous impact, would that particular session, if that particular session was recorded, would be the one that you would submit for your certification with the ICF? Maybe not. Maybe not. So what? Right? The bottom line here is that you were able to be with your client and to offer that moment that was of value and of some transformation to that individual. That is, to me, the perfect coaching session. So form and flow. If we lean too much toward form and we don't have much flow, then our sessions are mechanical. If we lean too much towards flow and not to, and without form, then our sessions are unfocused. And coaching is an intentional process. So flow alone is not good either. Form without flow, mechanical. Flow without form, unfocused. But form and flow is that aspect when we are there present with purpose with our clients. That is our goal. And that is something that is not very emphasized in coach training and in the certification process, which is concerning to me. And it's something that we as a community need to talk much more about, that this idea of coming together with form and flow. And I say this, I emphasize this because since our industry right now is so focused on standards, which is wonderful and beautiful, we need standards and we need to continue this conversation around standard. But because we have focused so much on standards, and then, I talk a lot, let's not forget about flow. I'm not saying that we are going to forget standards. That's not my message. And I want to be clear here. It's the combination of both. Just because I am sharing this idea of, checking the markers does not mean that the session is going to be a great session, does not mean that I'm going to abandon the standards. Our job is to be very capable of demonstrating all of the standards, and we should be committed to understanding the core competencies and PCC markers and ACC bars and MCC bars and all of these things. If we are committed to being the best coach that we can be, it's our commitment to making sure, it's our responsibility to making sure that we know and we have those at the best level that we can possibly have our tools very sharpened and be able to demonstrate it with the best of our capabilities. And it's also important that we are embracing the moment, the presence, and the unpredictability of the moment of coaching. So how do we do this? So the perfectly imperfect commitment. We need to commit to continuing education. This is not something that we go and we take a course and we do the minimum requirements and we got the stamp and we are done. And thank you for your commitment to be here, right? Your commitment to be here in South Florida Summit. This means that you are committed to this continuing education. Be committed to the continuing education. Be committed to your development. It doesn't matter. One of the jokes that we have with a colleague of mine is that when she got her MCC, a year or so before I got my MCC, and when she got her MCC, one of her colleagues called her and said, "Congratulations, now the learning starts." And then when I got my MCC, she came to me and said, "Elias, congratulations, everything. Now the learning starts." So just because we have ACC, PCC, MCC, 10 years, 20, 30 years of experience, that doesn't mean that we're done. In coaching, we are never done. We are always learning. So continuing education is crucial for the development of a coach. Staying current with standards. Standards are changing all the time. The ICF just released the new version of the core competencies. Do you agree with everything that is in over there? You are part of the conversation. So be part of the conversation. The ICF just released the minimum requirements for ACC, PCC, MCC. Get the documents, read them, get acquainted with it, go to conversations, be a part of the conversation. You are the ICF. We are the ICF. We are the ones who set the standards for this profession. And we need to be together having conversations for us to decide what is that we want this profession to be 5-10 years from now, right? We are the ones setting the standards, and it's important that we are in the conversation. Growing as a human being. Coaching became an organized profession out of a cry for humanity. Coaching is a disruptor. Coaching has become an organized profession because of a cry to bring humanity back to the workplace, bring humanity back to our contexts, to our communities. Coaching is intrinsically human. For us to be able to be great professionals, it's not just about checking markers, but we need to be committed to growing ourselves as human beings. When was the last time that you went to a different restaurant to eat different food? When was the last time that you went to see a concert of a different artist that you've never seen before? You read a book that is different. You went and you took, you were commuting and you took a different route. You went travel, or you went to a neighborhood that you'd never been before, or you had a conversation with a stranger. All of this bring us to grow as people, as individuals. And I'm telling you, it will affect your coaching conversation 100%. It's completely connected. So commit to growing as a human being. Don't stay in your little cocoon. Get out of your cocoon. Go out, see life, see the world, see humanity, because that is going to give you the capacity to see yourself and see your client differently, and certain nuances that perhaps you will never see just because you asked the perfect question. Certain nuances are going to be there, right there for you. Okay, building empathy and compassion. What are the especially in the world that we live today of polarized concepts? Can we bring empathy and compassion to each other? How are we working on empathy and compassion? It's very easy for us to build empathy and compassion to people that think just like we do, right? Can we stretch our ability for empathy and compassion? Because that is going to help when we are in front of our clients, even if the client is just saying, you know, the most beautiful thing in the world that we think is beautiful. Empathy in general, right? Expanding our perspective, see the world differently, see different possibilities. All of this will support us. Commitment to the client, not to standards. That's a crucial aspect of this. We are committed to our clients and what clients need, and what I can do to support my client in the best way possible with all of my skills and all my abilities. My focus is my client. My focus is not checking markers, and expanding our presence and our listening. I've told this story many times, and some of you may have heard of that before. Many years ago, I was facilitating a program, a panel of discussion for ICF New Jersey when I was still living in New Jersey. And at the end of the program, we opened for questions from the coaches that were present. And one coach, I will never forget this moment, one coach raised his hand and asked the panel, of all of the ICF core competencies, which one is the most important one? And then this MCC coach raised his hand and said, I'll answer that question. And he picked up the microphone and he said, and what he said is ingrained in my head. I'm going to die with that. Perhaps, you know, even in the afterlife, I'm going to be thinking about that. So he said, of all core competencies are important. But if I had to choose one, I would choose maintain presence. Because if I'm not present, I cannot do anything else. So I hope that you are taking this to heart. What are you present to when you are with your client? Are you present to markers? Are you present to checking the boxes? Are you present to asking the perfect question? Are you present to, oh, my statement was a little too long. Oh, I asked a close-ended question. Oh, are you present to that? Or are you present to your client? Be present to your client and practice, so that all of these stuff comes naturally to you and you don't have to think about it. But your commitment is to be present to your clients. So here's what I would love to do. Claudia, can we have a 10 minute break, a breakout room? Can we put people in breakout rooms, like 2 or 3 people per breakout room, something like that? And I have some questions for you to talk in the breakout room. And here are the questions. Where is my focus when facilitating a coaching conversation? In what ways is technique distracting me? How can technique support me better? What helps me rebalance in the moment? And I will put this in the chat so that you can download that for you. Let me get this quickly here. And when you go to the breakout rooms, you can talk about that quickly. And we're just going to be 10 minutes so you can share. And then when we come back, I would love to hear what comes up for you. Okay, so here is the document that you can download. So you have the questions there when you go to the breakout room. Claudia, anytime.
Great.
10 minutes, everybody.
Did you all get an invitation to join? Okay. Yeah. No.
Okay. Do you want me to work on breakout room? Oh, there are. Okay, let me assign here. Oh, you created the breakout rooms, but you didn't assign them. I can do that for you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I thought yes.
Okay, you should now start getting.
All right.
Okay,
There
I'm doing it.
Thank you, Elias.
Yeah, I'm doing manually here. Let's do it. Let's see. Two more to go. I hope I did it right.
I think so.
Somehow, room 2 only has 2 people, but that's okay.
Okay.
Do you want to pause the recording or you want to keep it going? Good. Hello. We are coming back. Excellent.
All right.
Let's wait for the others.
Yes. 13 seconds more. Some people stay till the end.
Oh, and by the way, look at what I'm using here.
Yeah, wonderful. I used mine last night. So
yeah, I got this from the Luminous.
From Luminous last year or the year before?
3 years ago. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I didn't go last year, but anyways.
No, you didn't. I flew out and I didn't see you.
Yes. So everybody, how did it go? I would love to hear what came up for you in the conversation.
So I start. This is Erika. Hi, everyone. How are you? So we were with Franco and we lost. It's not here, no, Franco? I don't see her.
Yes, Frank is here.
No, but the other lady, we
Jen,
lost
yeah.
connection with her. So maybe
Yeah.
something happened with her Wi-Fi. So it was very nice just to see that we're in the same line, the self-awareness, how to be sure about the goal of each session, to do the best questions, the open questions, to do not lead the session, to let the client flow and going on the side, no forward or in the back, no. So yes, we talk about that, and we're different because I'm working with teenagers and couples. So it's sometimes you imagine to do a coaching to teenagers. So it's not easy to follow them, but it's a challenge, a beautiful challenge. And we say that only with practice, and we talk a little bit about meditation. I meditate 3 times a day, so it's helped me a lot to come back to myself, to be aware of myself.
So beautiful, Erica. Yes, practice, practice, practice. That's how we get to Carnegie Hall, right? And this idea of participating. And what I love what you said there, Erica, is well, like we are going to have different types of clients. But regardless, if we are coaching a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or if we are working with a teenager, we are working with couples, or if we are working with ADHD clients, if we are working in health coaching, regardless of this, if we are following the standards of our profession, we can see that there is the shape, the framework is still there. But the framework is going to show up in many different ways because it's a different context. But the framework is still there. We can still see that. That's the goal, right? We are still coaches. We're still following standards. However, we are adapting, flexing to what is needed for our clients in the moment. Fabulous. What else? Other groups? Yes, Rosario. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Okay, got it. Sorry. Okay, we all agree that some of our best sessions were not really marking all the markers, like checking all the boxes, It was funny, but we all agree that sometimes our best moments are just being present. That's what makes it.
Yeah, 100%. And that is the balance for us. That is the challenge for us as professionally trained coaches. This idea that it's not all the way in form, but it's not all the way in flow. And realize that sometimes there will be sessions that are more structured. There will be sessions that are less structured. But can we have the reflective practice? Can we have the commitment to constantly be polishing our skills, right? This idea that, oh, I don't need to be concerned about the markers. It's no excuse for us to say, okay, I'm just going to have this conversation with my client. No. We are committed to the standards because there is beauty in the standards. And my commitment is to understand these standards so deeply that I don't need to be worried about it. It's going to show up naturally in the conversation. That's the goal, right? Mastery, and I say that for us to reach MCC level, and if you do an MCC mentoring with me to prepare for your MCC, you're going to see that I am very precise with making sure that the skills are all there. But we want to make sure that these skills are naturally there, that we are not there checking boxes and being performative, but we are there naturally. It's so ingrained in us that of course it's going to show up. It's that balance that is the challenge. And it's very tricky, very, very, very tricky. Anyone else would like to share something that came up? Yes, Katya.
Yeah, I was with Jimmy and Valeska, and what we said is that sometimes there's a difference between having a session where you're not there to submit the session. There's a flow, but if you're gonna submit, it has to be natural and not performing. No, and Valeska gave an example of somebody that pretended to be helpful and she wasn't. No, like, and it was more a performing. No, so what we talked about was, okay, having clear what are the standards and what is expected, and have that, embody that. So when you're in the session, you're not thinking about, and it flows, but also
100%.
your client as well feels the recording naturally.
100%. That's beautiful. We need to realize that when we submit a recording to the ICF, yes, we are going we are sending a performance evaluation. So we need to demonstrate, the assessor is just going to listen to one of our recordings. So we need to demonstrate in that recording that we know what we're doing and that we know what the skills are. So there is a need to make sure that we demonstrate the skills. However, the expectation that every coaching session is going to have to follow that, it's not realistic, and it's not to the service of the client. It's no excuse for us to, let go and be sloppy with our technique. It's no excuse for that. We are there, performing, and we're there sharpening our skills as much as we can. But the most important is for us to be present to our clients. So I'm noticing time here. Let me share a few more things here with you. Here, this idea, I love this quote here. The perfect coaching session is the one that brings value to the client in the moment. That is the perfect coaching session. And I would love for us to keep that in mind. Perfection in coaching isn't about flawless form, flawless technique. It's about authentic flow. When we bring together both, and that is the challenge, bring both, we create sessions that are imperfectly perfect and are deeply human. That's our goal. So here's a question for you, for us to finish. What will you do differently in your next coaching session? And if you want to share, you can share, but it can be a rhetoric question as well. Okay, so think about that. I want to share here with you. Please listen to my podcast, Prime Space. It's available on YouTube. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of this. I try to release episodes every week, and there is always a coaching topic. And sometimes I bring guests. So maybe one of you would be a guest, or some of you will be guests in my podcast. Do you have a question? Would you like to come and share with me your thoughts? So please reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you and have that have you as part of the podcast. But please subscribe to the podcast, share with other coaches. That would be fabulous. And also, I do have my coach training program, and today we are opening registrations for next year. So if you are interested in either level 1 or level 2 training, let me know as well. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm going to pass the microphone back to Claudia.
Thank you so much, Elias. And yes, I agree. Your podcast is fabulous. I listen to it every single week in my car when I'm driving, and I put it on repeat because it's really important what you share. So if you haven't, go ahead and download the podcast. One more thing for you guys that we'd like to ask, it's for you to fill out the form, the feedback form. It's really useful for us as chapter and for our speaker as well. We'd like to share with them your feedback and your nice words. Well, I think that's all for us. Anything that you want to share with us before we leave? You can open your microphone.
And thank you for the comments in the chat. Really a joy for me to be here with you and to spend this time with you. It's my favorite time when I'm spending time with other coaches. So thank you for your engagement and for sharing your thoughts here with us. And most important, thank you for your commitment to your clients. Thank you for your commitment to this profession. I truly believe that we are ambassadors of this coaching mindset and the transformative aspect of the coaching mindset. So let's bring this to the world, and thank you for the work that you do with your clients every day. It's truly a joy, inspiring. And if you're coming to Converge next week, please come and talk with me. I would love to meet you in person and give you a hug. A Brazilian hug.
A Brazilian hug. Wonderful. Don't forget to register for today's session. Katia will be with us sharing about team coaching, and at the end of the day, Elena Espinal as well. So we'll hope to see you there.
Just one
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye, Elias.
Bye, Elias. Thank you so much. Good seeing you again.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Elias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.